Hello, I'm Jose, and this is the Cinematic Dogma podcast. Today, we are visited, as every week, selling us his opinions and his faith by Blake.
I'm here to talk about the gospel of Jesus Christ.
The gospel of Jesus Christ, because you have realized that I'm a spiritual person and I need Jesus in my life.
I've recognized you need saving. That's what I've recognized.
I feel that I'm already far beyond savings at this point, but okay. And this week, talking about savings, is that we're going to be talking about Heretic.
We are. And I'm excited.
You're excited. I would like, whatever you feel comfortable about, just sharing about how, especially the beginning, reflects to your previous life, if you want.
Well, I grew up in Idaho. Is that the sort of background you're looking
No.
at?
But
No.
why
I
did we?
understand. I understand.
Okay, why did we choose this movie?
I feel like I bring a special perspective to the discussion of this film because not only was I raised in a Mormon community, I participated in that Mormon community up through and including missionary work. So I was a missionary. And once I saw this trailer, I was like, yep, this is the film
I
for
need to
me.
watch this. And I assume that was the reason why you wanted to watch it and discuss about it.
Yeah, so the kids I went to high school with, we were all Mormon, and about half of them have left now. And I'm not in contact with a lot of them, but there was sure a lot of texting among all of us. Like, did you see the trailer for this film? Are you going to see it? There's kind of this expectation to see it as a sort of... I don't know, penance, or to live some sort
Reflection?
of fantasy. I wish I could kill missionaries.
Oh my god! Okay, maybe I should give a summary of this, but I will try to be pretty brief summarizing it because this is on the cinemas. I think that we watched it fairly close. I don't know if it opened 1 or 2 weeks ago. When this podcast go out, is maybe have been 1 or 2 more weeks, but. This movie stars a couple of missionaries. It was Sophia Thatcher, we're saying? Sophie Thatcher.
Yep.
Yeah, Sophie Thatcher and Chloe East as Sister Paxton and Sister Barnes. And they are just missionaries. Do we know on what state are they? Or on what city?
I don't think they ever say it. In my opinion, it looks like the Pacific Northwest because it's very... lots of forest, very rainy, cold, snow.
Yeah. It was in between Colorado and the Pacific Northwest. But area with forest and the lights. They are in a village, trying to sell the gospel of their faith. And they have a list of people to visit. And one of the people that they visit is Hugh Grant. I will just stick to the trailer. Is that basically they get lured into their house, into his house, with the promise that there is a woman in premises that they're going to get served by. They get into a bit of the telling him about some religious concepts. He's already familiar with a lot of religious stuff. And then things start going weird. They realize that maybe there is no pie. Maybe the pie was a lie all along. And maybe they are trapped. Is that they try to run out of the house and they can't. The door is locked and they get lured into some dialectical religious conflict with their host, that they make them choose between belief and disbelief, and he tries to just push what they understand about religion and if it truly is real or not. So he challenges, basically the devil, try to challenging them on their faith. And I think that covers the general gist of it.
I think that's the gist. The only caveat I would say is the point of this movie is not will your faith see you through the complicated times. It's more just I don't know. It's not that simple. It's not like these girls are given a test of their faith in their church. It's more hey, there's really weird people out there, and also religious zealots are very weird, and when they have a clash of ideas, no good can come out of that.
Yeah. Well, no good can come out of that. But basically, the whole movie is presented. Sorry, let's just. Is the summary enough?
Yes, let's stop there.
All right. So talking about like the movie in itself, I think that the movie tries to be a bit of a. True, it's a horror movie. It's about like, oh my god, are they going to survive? They're not. It's like what is going to happen. But also the movie tries to do a lot of, hey, is faith like something realistic, or is it actually based on interpreting like some stuff that our body does in a way that we want to see it like that? So they talk a bit more about like this kind of near-death experiences. Is like that you may actually see angels and the likes. Is like, where does it come from? Is this real or not? I won't spoiler anything, but it touches like some of those points like several times. So it has aspirations of just being a bit of hey, I want you to think about religion as something.
Agreed.
If it works or not, that's a different topic.
I do think the film helps expose kind of the insanely huge plot holes that every religion has, but then kind of the pleasure that we get from watching this film is seeing how an opposing ideology might be useful to expose the plot holes of the other side, but that opposing ideology will have the exact same problems. I think that's what I took away from it, and that's very satisfying. As someone who used to belong to a what's called a high demand religion, something that expects 30 or 40 hours of your time a week.
Oh wow!
Yes,
That's
I will
crazy.
say from someone who lived in Mormon country and went through this, I was deeply uncomfortable at how realistic it was with the missionaries. like I texted my best friend from childhood. We both went on missions. He went to Australia. I went to Russia. And we texted after each other. I was like, I was insanely uncomfortable at the more earnest sister missionary who tried to share a story because
Oh,
that's what she's supposed to do, but it was clearly so inappropriate, but you don't know what else to do. And he was like, he said he was so uncomfortable, he almost had to leave the theater because it was so realistic.
oh
So
god.
that is an extra layer of horror that was added to my experience in this film.
Yeah, because you resonated with
Yeah.
that because you had to go through it. Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, they're like ridiculized at the beginning or ignored by people, by the regular people, and this is more about like they found a. I don't want to say like a match because basically this is torturing. Like Hugh Grant is torturing them, like psychologically and physically.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, it starts out just with like casual, kind conversations. Not kind, but like an open conversation, right? And then it
Yeah,
just gets progressively more and more uncomfortable.
yeah, more
And then obviously,
confrontational.
yes,
Yeah,
confrontational both in terms of the words that are spoken and the actions that are taken, and even where they go in the house. They're like, they move from one room to the next, and it's
yeah,
just like you're
yeah,
getting in deeper and deeper and
yeah,
deeper,
yeah.
like with religion or a cult or any sort of social situation. So there are a lot of layers here, I guess I'm saying.
Yeah. Literally layers also like there. Um, so did you like it overall?
So going back to what I was saying just now, like there were parts that felt so real, I felt uncomfortable. I'll give that to the film. There are moments that are so well
Yeah.
crafted that I, at least with the Mormon experience behind me, I felt like, hey, this is a little too real for comfort, and I think that's the point of any
Oh, that's
horror
good.
film.
Yeah. Yeah.
But overall, when I left the theater, I think I texted you right as I left. We try
Yeah.
not to talk about films until we get on the podcast, but I really wanted to be like, hey, was this a big letdown for you too? Because I felt like it was a little
Yeah.
bit of a letdown. The
Yeah.
film starts off promising the first half, and
Oh
then
yeah.
it doesn't know what the fuck to do at the last half.
Yeah. Yeah. That's sadly what I mean, I went with my boyfriend to watch it and we say it's like, hey, the first act was good. The second act was okay. Because there is like a correlation about like the acts also is like when they are moving through the house, let's just say, is like the second act it was like okay, but I had the feeling that at that point is like this the screenplay is that they tried to play a more interesting and deeper that you think. It tried to be like more and more like, hey, this is about like commentary on religion and the like, and it's like, eh, thing is like the characters become like super smart, like the ones that they even were struggling to form like complete sentences like 5 minutes ago, they start having like these complex like reflections around like religion and the like that I feel like what the heck just happened here? Is that did they study? Is that did they took like a Duolingo class about like how to speak religions? You know?
Yeah, it doesn't make particularly the journey that the naive sister takes.
Oh yeah.
She just becomes like she understands philosophy and logic all of a sudden, and she uses it to fight him. It's like,
It becomes like more and more far-fetched, you know,
yeah,
and it's like and that was like the part of the fit is I think that they had an aspiration with this movie that I appreciate when horror movies try to have like an aspiration beyond of a we want to scare you, you know. It starts like, hey, we want to make you feel uncomfortable. You understand about like these situations, you know, you were like part of the Mormon church, but then it turns into higher ambitions that made me feel a bit more is like, hey, is this like a idea the diarrhea movie?
and if you really closely examine the actions that Hugh Grant's character takes in the final, let's say, half of the film, I guess you don't raise an eyebrow in the context of watching the film from start to finish, but if you really look at what he's actually doing, it makes
No sense.
zero sense. Like zero. He doesn't get anything out of it. He's not accomplishing anything. He's not. It just
No.
we don't know. Yeah. So
Yep.
for me, the film
It's
just
yeah.
falls apart by the ending.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And it's not like, you know, oh, by the last 10 minutes. It's a bit more about like, hey, when all of the pieces are put in place, is that this feels a bit of a seriously. Is that you started good? Is like why did you have to go like towards this? Is like are you trying to do like one of these horrors that is like, hey, if it's grounded more in reality, it can be like more plausible and then it's more scary? Is it because, let me tell you, the last act is not believable in any way.
Nope. None at all. Whereas if you go back an hour from the ending and this incredibly uncomfortable social situation, like that's
Yeah,
100% believable, and I had some
it's scary.
experiences exactly like that, and it's scary and
Yeah,
weird and
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think that they actually put it like pretty well. How they ask, this is on the trailer, how they ask is like, hey, we can only go inside your house if there is a woman present.
which I
You
feel
know?
like most people not familiar with Mormonism would be like, oh, this is a plot device to help move things along. Those are the rules. They broke the
Yeah,
rules. Like, that would not be okay when you're a missionary. Like, I couldn't
yeah,
go
yeah,
into a room with a woman alone. So,
yeah,
like, that's like
yeah,
real shit.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's that they actually, at least, they're aware of that rule and they bypass it a bit because Hugh Grant is super friendly. You
Well,
know,
they can smell the blueberry pie, which, to be fair, I mean, I would have believed that lie.
yeah, and even like the trailer they show you later is like, oh my god, it was a candle of blueberry pie. That is a bit like, bitch, is that you cannot differentiate between like smelling a candle that is in front of you and there is a smell of a pie coming out. It's that maybe you deserve everything that happens to you. But also like the elder, I mean, sorry, that is that they have to notify, they check on the phone about like, hey, this is where we are. So I think that is like pretty well thought from the perspective of what is the premise, you know. But I think that this is a movie that get lost on its aspirations of being more than what it actually is. And I don't think that the screenwriters were up to the task of just elevating it to that. So it ended up being a bit of a sure, just okay. This is being entertaining. Let's move on. Let's pretend that the last part didn't happen
Yep, agreed. And it's a pity. Well, it was fun for 50 minutes or so.
for 50 minutes. And it's like, how long is it? Because it's not a short one.
I don't know how long it is. I'm gonna look it up right now. But in fairness, it didn't feel like a long movie. Well, an hour and 50 minutes. That's pretty long. It didn't feel long. I'll give it that.
Yeah, it didn't feel like too long.
Yep.
For me, it felt like towards the end, I was like, seriously, there is more. There is a fourth act here, and there's still like 30 more minutes of movie.
Less less than wanting it to end, I wanted it to make sense. That was more like the urge that
Fair.
I felt at the end. It's like I'm not bored. I just need this to get somewhere that I am satisfied with.
Yeah. a couple of things is like I told you this before we started recording, but this movie reminded me a bit of Split with James McAvoy, directed by
This is the original
Shyamalan.
one, right? Because there were
What do you mean
three. There were three with James McAvoy.
No, there were two with James McAvoy. It was like a Split and Glass.
Okay,
Yeah, the first one it was Unbreakable. That it was only like Bruce Willis.
got it.
Well, Bruce Willis and
Okay, you want to bring in that comparison? Which film do you think was better? Because one is clearly better in my mind.
so it's funny because I was talking about Shyamalan with a friend, and I was saying about a Split that I found that James McAvoy acting is it actually saves that movie. I won't say that it's a good movie, but it's entertaining to watch because James McAvoy is like giving this script about like, okay, you're going to be like 12 different characters, and he plays it pretty freaking well.
You should watch an interview. Apparently, he had like 32 characters, and only like 10 made it into the film. But he had like fully fleshed out other characters in his performance. I'll send you the interview. I don't want to exaggerate, but it was way more impressive than what actually.
No. But it's like before watching that movie, it's like I didn't think that James McAvoy was like the kind of like actor that could have like that crazy registry, and it's like
That's
he did it
fair.
like really well. And I think that is the other thing that is like a parallelism is like James McAvoy's character like kidnaps a group of cheerleaders. And it's like one of them is Anna Taylor-Joy, and she also like just faces James McAvoy in a like dialectical kind of struggle.
That's right. I completely forgot that.
So for me, it felt that it's like, oh, this is a religious re-skin of a Split with a dash of Hereditary, like with the house being one of the characters and everything. And it felt like, oh, but actually they talk about derivative. And I felt like, are they doing this in a way of, we're also derivative, we know it,
And
but we
we're okay
embrace
with
it.
it. We're just
Yeah.
fine.
The reference, I don't know if you can get away with that, honestly. Is that because at the end of the day, it felt derivative. For me, I was talking with the same friend that I was talking about a Split, and I told him, like, hey, I went to watch Hereditary. It may be okay to spend an afternoon like watching it, but it feels derivative.
Mm, yeah, I'll give you that. That's fine.
Yeah. Should we go over the questions?
We should. I do want to call out that this film was written and directed by a pair of men. I don't know if they're friends. I was going to say friends, but Scott Beck, Bryan Woods. Scott Beck was born in Denver, so I'm guessing this is supposed to be Colorado.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that makes...
On to the questions.
Yeah. Well, the other one was born in Iowa.
Right, but that's not a state we're talking about, so let's just move on.
Oh, Blake, would you watch Heretic again?
No. My hesitation was if I would watch it on a flight. No. Nope.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Maybe I would watch I mean, the thing is like, I think that the first act is good, like building tension. The second act is okay, and then it's like it goes down the drain. Is like, would I rewatch the first or the second act? Is like probably not, because I already know that it's like setting me up for disappointment.
Yep.
In the last part. So, would you recommend it?
No, not even to my formerly Mormon friends. There's not enough there to make it satisfying. There's nothing that makes this film stand out more so to make it recommendable.
So, when we think, would you recommend any other movie that it talks about Mormonism? I mean, it's not that this movie focuses a lot on Mormonism, but it's like, is there any movie that you would recommend under that context of to your Mormon friends?
That portrays Mormon missionary work?
Yeah.
I would
So,
have to think
Big Love
about,
doesn't count.
what a pity. No, there's not a lot of great Mormon stories. I mean, there's that Andrew Garfield Hulu series out right now that is a true story about some crimes that happened in Utah. And,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've heard that's really good. That's where my mind goes. I haven't seen it, but
Let me watch it. I have forgotten about it. It was like 1 or 2 years ago, I think.
Under the Banner
I
of
was
Heaven, is that what it's called?
Oh yeah, something like that. I was going to say the Book of Mormon. It's not a movie. It's a musical. I don't know how other Mormon people would feel about it.
I've only listened to the soundtrack, so I can't speak to it. I mean,
Yeah.
Mormons, they don't like when you fuck babies. So, like, I guess it's kind
That's
of
where they draw the line.
accurate.
Great, great. That part is good. Could you remember Heretic?
So the complete mess that is the final act, no, because there's no logic or anything. Like, it's just such nonsense. I will forget all of that. The setup, sure, I'll remember that. So I guess my answer is no. I will remember nothing beyond the trailer for this film.
Yeah, I don't think that I'm going to remember like the smoke, mirrors, and bullshit that they pull on the second part of the movie. I think that my brain is like, will remember is that, hey, these girls, they got into the brown house and they're going to have a really bad time
Yeah.
because of that.
Yeah, no.
But beyond that, nah. Is there anything artistic about it?
Hugh Grant, 100%. And the two leading ladies, I think, did.
Yeah, the acting is good.
But
Yeah.
Hugh Grant was really fun to watch.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
about all I'd say.
Yeah, he's crazy charismatic for a role like this. Surprisingly,
Yeah,
I don't think that he has ever
believably.
done like a. Yep. Like how, like okay, he's blatantly lying to these two girls, but they are eating it all, like blueberry pie.
Just like they did with their religion.
Oh yes.
There's so many layers to this.
Oh god. Yeah, I think that the parts that they think that they're artistic, like visually, I didn't find them so enticing as they think that they were.
No, the second they show that there's a miniature reproduction of the
Yeah.
house, I was like, oh, no, you lost me.
Yeah, the part I felt so gratuitous, and that's the reason what I was saying is like they're trying to add something from Hereditary here, but why? It felt like cheap. It felt like hey, this doesn't play anything. In Hereditary it makes a lot of sense because it's like the way of just processing trauma for the main character, for the mother, for Toni Collette. Whereas in this case, it just felt like you saw Hereditary and you thought that this was cool, so you're adding it here.
Yeah, and if you actually compare the two horror films, I would, even though I like Hereditary more than you do, like you cannot compare the two films. They're
Oh,
like
yeah.
different leagues completely.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a bit more of a okay. The acting, yeah, with the script that they are given, is that they act like pretty good. If you see like the registry of the girls too, especially like the more how do you say like plucky one, like happier one, is like how she evolves around the movie. I feel is that yeah, this is pretty good. She was given a script that it was not that good, and she has made the best out of it.
Yeah, I agree.
So, is it a timeless piece?
Sure. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. It's religion, challenging religion, and torturing missionaries. You
I
can
mean, they do
always
spend a little bit of obnoxious amount of time actually addressing how technology couldn't save them, which became a little bit of repetitive. Okay.
Yeah,
But,
yeah,
but it's not centered on that technology. They just focus on like getting rid of it. So I guess that makes it. I don't know.
a bit.
Let's just say
I mean,
whatever. It's going to be
yeah.
just as mediocre in 10 years, 20 years as it was.
Yeah, they also talk a bit about like some specific artists that is, and they even like emphasize the part about like, oh, you don't remember this from the 70s, but this was important in the 90s. Maybe this sounds a bit more familiar to you. And it's like if I actually portray into the teens, to the 2010s, is like, oh, now you actually know this story. There is a okay, yeah, but if I watch this movie in 20 years, no one's going to remember this shit.
Oh, come on. One of the songs they talk about is truly timeless and will always be spoken about as long as society exists.
So the first one,
No,
like the one
you
that
know
other
which
ones- I know, but I'm just joking about it. Yeah, we spent like the whole drive back home after watching the movie, like just talking about this. Like we didn't know about this shit.
I didn't either, which is, you and I are both, I mean, the song is Creep by Radiohead. There's no spoilers there.
Yeah.
But we're both pretty, at least we used to be pretty big Radiohead fans, and we didn't know
Yeah.
about this lawsuit. That was interesting.
I think that I completely forgot it. Maybe I knew it at some point, but it's
I
like
never knew it. I'd remember
Yeah.
that.
What I didn't know is about like the part with Lana Del Rey.
That part. Well, we've been checked out from Radiohead since A Moon-Shaped Pool. So, well, even
But
before
they didn't
that.
do anything.
The
Yeah,
King of Limbs, we were like, done.
yeah. It's like, okay, if you do something good afterwards, just let me know. But Moonshade Pool is like, I like them, but it's like it's almost like Tom York is also disconnected from Radiohead. It's a bit more like, I go back if I want some other time. So, but yeah, I think that may make it a bit more timely. But as you said, is the core of the story is going to be as important now as in 50 years. So not too much.
Yep.
Would you turn this into a TV show?
No. 1 hour and 50 minutes was probably too long for this film, just as a film.
Yep. So actually, could this have been a short?
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I would just watch the first half of the movie and then end it. That's how I would make it short.
That's just short. It's like, until something even worse happened. Don't worry, that's fine. Yeah, I agree. I think that this never a TV show and probably like a short. If it was like 40 minutes, like of tension, like 30 minutes, I think that it would have been great.
In fact, this would be an incredible short if they just continued the weird conversation where clearly the sister missionaries were approaching a dangerous moment. And then if the film just ended and you wondered what was going to happen to these girls, like that would be a killer short. I would watch that at Sundance.
Yeah, so even like just ending with the idea of is it real, is it like a dangerous situation or not, and then just resolving that yes, it's dangerous, and that's it.
Yep.
That would have been fine. Again, this is like the trailer already gives you a way that is like, nope, this is bad. This is like a really bad thing. There is no tension about that. Is that you know as the audience that is a this is not going to go well for them. So, do you think that this movie could have been better?
Yes. The answer is yes. There's just so much that would need fixed. I feel like it'd be better to start over.
Yeah, I think that we already gave like a bit of summary of remove the third act, just change your expectations about like what you want to do with this movie. Remove that model house bullshit thingy, and the last act is that don't even think that is smart. It's not.
What I want to call out is that I'm actually kind of a sucker for guilty pleasure horror films. Like, it doesn't have to be good as long as it's satisfying in some way. That's what this film lacks, is a satisfying sort of resolution. And not that it needs to resolve everything, but just the ending of the film is so unsatisfying. That's what I care about.
Yeah, agree. Cool. These were all the questions. So, should we score it now?
Yeah, this was quote unquote my pick. So you score first.
No, this was your pick. Remove the quotes. This was your pick. You said like, I want to watch this, and I said like, sure, why not? So I could say like probably like a 5.5 for me. About like this is not terrible of I want to remove my eyes, I want to pluck my eyes off my skull because of how painful it is to watch. It's just like the problem that I have like when movies, especially A24 movies, they try to be more important than they can be. They don't have like the screenwriters to pull this off.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I'm going to give it a 6. I know our scales are a little bit different. This is slightly better than mediocre. I mean, there are some interesting things. There are some things that did effectively, but overall,
just whatever. Forgettable.
Yep, forgettable. Yeah. That's the word.
Yeah. Right, and I think this is it for Heretic. So
and I don't have anything else to say. So
yeah.
Bye.
I wouldn't say go to watch it or anything. It's like just go on with your life.
Yep.
Maybe. Yeah.
Watch something else. Boogie Nights.
Yeah.
Or Magnolia.
Yeah, or something else. Yeah. All right, to everyone there, thank you so much for putting up with us.
Until next time.
Bye.